thank you for watching my channel today. My name is Sarah and my channel is called Your True Shelf. I hope that you're having a good week. I hope that you've enjoyed the bank holiday weekend if you're in the UK, and we've finally had some lovely weather, which is really nice. Or in East Anglia we have. Obviously I can't speak for the whole country, but we had some really nice weather and a beach trip yesterday, which was great. And that's why I'm a bit late in filming my video for this week, just because I have been busy. So today I'm filming something slightly different. So I'm doing a tag video today, which was created by my friend Aaron over at Aaron Read a Book, or Aaron Read a Book. I'll link his channel and his original tag video in the description box down below. And he has done a tag which is based on chess. So the prompts are all to do with the characters. Is it characters in chess? That sounds wrong. The chess pieces. There's a tag for, or a question for each chess piece. So I've tried to pick books that aren't ones that are talked about all the time on booktube. I always think it's nice if you get some ideas for new books when you listen to answers to questions. So I've tried to, there are a couple of big hitters in here, but I've tried to pick some more unusual ones as well. The other thing I've done for each question, I've picked a book that I've read and a book that I haven't read for my answers. The first question is Pawn. A book about a lowly character that rises through the ranks. So for this book, I want to choose a book that I've literally just finished for my read book, and that is River East, River West by Aubrey Lescure. So this is a book which is on the Women's Prize shortlist, and I would never have picked this book up were it not for that fact. I hadn't heard that many good things about it, and I was actually a bit disappointed that it got shortlisted for the Women's Prize. But I thought, well, okay, I'll listen to the audiobook now that it's shortlisted, and I ended up absolutely loving it. So I guess that shows that you should make your own opinions and not always go by what other people have felt, because we all have different reading tastes. So this is about several rising ups and downfalls of characters, where it's a split narrative over two different timelines. So we're following a young girl called Alva in 2007-2008 in Shanghai. She is a mixed race girl who has a white mum and a Chinese dad, and she is trying to find her way as a teenager in Shanghai in that time period. And then we have the other main character called Lu Feng. Lu Feng grew up in China at the time of the Cultural Revolution, and he was just about to start university when he got taken out of university because of the revolution, and he was made to work in a farming job, married a girl that he wasn't in love with, and had a son with her. And he very much came from poverty and rose up to quite a lot of wealth. And then, I don't want to spoil what happens, but there's a change in that situation as well. And it's about how their lives run in parallel, how they intersect and go apart, and things. And it's very much about wealth and whether that brings anything good or not. And I just loved the book. I thought it was wonderful. So that's definitely a book about a character that rises through the ranks, and that's one of the whole themes of the book. So for the book that I haven't read for this, I thought we have to kind of pick a fantasy as well for this. And this is a book that most people have read, apart from me, if they're into fantasy. And this is The Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. So I've heard everybody who likes fantasy say about how good the Robin Hobb books are. And so when I went to London for my birthday and did a book haul, this was one of the books that I wanted to get, and I did. And it's very beautiful as well, and it's quite a small book for fantasy. And so yeah, this is definitely about an uprising of a character, so a child called Fitz. The kingdom is on the brink of civil war when news breaks that the crown prince has fathered a bastard son and is shamed into abdication. The child's name is Fitz, and he is despised. Raised in the castle stables, only the company of the king's fool, the ragged children of the lower city, and his unusual affinity with animals provide Fitz with any comfort. But Fitz is trained as an assassin and to use traditional magic. His tutor is allied to another political faction and determined to discredit, even kill him, but Fitz must survive, for he is maybe destined to save the kingdom. So that's definitely a lowly character rising to power story. So I'm really looking forward to starting that series when I get round to it. So the second chess piece is a Rook. This is a book that features a castle, tower or chariot. So for the book that I've read for this one, I chose The Uncommon Reader by Alan Bennett. This is a really little book which I read for Shorty September in its first year. So I think that might have been 2020. And it's about the Queen. So she basically is in Buckingham Palace. She is walking the corgis, and the corgis have run off, and she's trying to find them, and she wanders into a mobile library, and she decides that because it would probably be the polite thing to do to borrow a library book, and then she gets really into her library book, and then she gets really into reading, and it makes her look differently at things in her life, but it also makes her start not doing as many of her royal duties because she doesn't really want to be doing those things. She wants to be reading. And so it's sort of like, it's obviously like a tongue-in-cheek book, but it's very small. It's only about 125 pages, and it's just really sweet, and it's kind of nice to have this vision of the Queen in a different light, how she's, you know, all of the kind of really serious things that we would have read about her when she was alive. So that's a really sweet book, and I thought we could have Buckingham Palace featuring as the castle. Is not really a castle, it's a palace, but yeah, I'm bending the rules a little bit. And then the book that I haven't read is one which will definitely feature those things. I'm actually buddy reading this with Aaron next month, and this is Boudica by Amanda Scott. So this is the first in a trilogy, I believe, called Dreaming the Eagle, and the first paragraph of the blurb really sucks you in. So it says, at 12 she killed her first warrior. At 21 she defended her land against an invasion by the most powerful empire the world had ever seen. At 40 she led people in a bloody revolt and became a legend. And this is set in Britain before the Romans came, and it says it features druids, dreamers, warriors and their gods, bringing them vividly to life. So I am, I'm really excited to read this, especially because both Aaron and I grew up in Colchester, and because Boudica came to Colchester, there's definitely like references to her in Colchester and in the castle and all stuff like that. So I think that this book is going to be really good, and we saw this recommended by Louise Savage as well, and I always like her recommendations. The next piece is Night, and the question is to recommend a book about an animal or animals. The book that I chose that I've already read is one of my favourite books. I say that, I always wonder if you can say that until you've reread a book, but I loved this book so much. This is The Story of Edgar Sortel by David Wroblewski. I've talked about this book before, but I just keep wanting to give it a shout out because I loved it so much. This is a book about a family who breed a kind of dog which is very intelligent, and it's sort of described like they're Alsatians, but they're not actually named as a specific breed. And it's set in Wisconsin, and Edgar is mute, and he has one of the dogs called Armandine. It becomes his particular dog, and Armandine is like his voice when he's a baby, so when he cries he doesn't make a sound, so Armandine will go and wake his mum or go and get his parent if he needs somebody. And he has this really close bond with Armandine, and then everything's going really well on their sort of farm where they breed these dogs, and then Edgar's uncle turns up and the whole thing sort of starts going awry and things happen, and I don't want to say any more than that. It is a book that has got very sad parts in, I won't lie about that, but the relationship between Edgar and Armandine is just amazing, and I just loved this book, and I really do want to read it again. It's quite a chunky book, but it's very much worth the effort. And then the book that I chose for the one that I haven't read for this question is my oldest book on my TBR, I think, and I really need to just get on and read it. This is The Loop by Nicholas Evans, who also wrote The Horse Whisperer. So that was my joint oldest book, and I did read that last year. So this one is about wolves, as you can probably tell from the front cover. So this is set in the Rocky Mountains, and I would imagine it's set in the 90s or something, because that's roughly when The Horse Whisperer is set. It's following Helen, who's a biologist. She's been sent to these mountains because the wolves were hunted to extinction there 100 years ago because I think of the threat they pose to the sheep, I think. And basically she's there to try and protect the wolves because they've now become a protected species, but the local people have like an underlying deep hatred for the wolves. And she's also going to take on a dangerous alliance with the son of her most ferocious opponent, a charismatic rancher called Buck. So yeah, I love wolves. I have, it's upside down, but I have a I can't see. I have a wolf tattoo which you can't actually see because I can't twist my arm that way, but I love wolves. And yeah, I do want to read this. I'm just I don't know why I've never picked it up. So that's my animal to be read book. The next one is Bishop, and this is a book that features a religious character or members of a church. So for the one I've read, I've got one of the best books that I've read in a really long time, and that is The Poisonwood Bible by Barbara Kingsolver. So this book is quite old now, but it's absolutely incredible. It's following a family who go to the Congo. The dad is a preacher. They're going as missionaries, and he takes his wife and 4 daughters to the Belgian Congo in 1959. And it's told from the perspective of the daughters and the wife, so there's multiple narrative voices. The dad is completely bonkers. I don't like the idea of missionaries. I don't like the idea of people taking their faith and trying to impress that faith onto other people who have their own culture and beliefs and values. And this is very much examined in this book. The dad is just bonkers. He's very puritanical and extreme in his views, and the environment in the Congo is very different to the environment that they're used to, and so they're trying to adapt and failing to do so in many cases. But it's really a great book, and the writing's wonderful. We read this for book club and unanimously loved this book. It's a big book, and again it's very much worth it. And I know that this is one that probably everybody's heard of, but if you haven't read it, then I'd really, really encourage you to read it because it's a real masterpiece. The next book, which is the unread one for the book about religious character or members of a church. This isn't about church. This is a non-fiction book, and this is A Fort of Nine Towers by Kais Akbar Omar. And I think it's better if I just read the blurb, that I'll do it more justice than trying to explain it myself. So this is a true life memoir of growing up in Afghanistan, and ever since reading Khalid Hosseini's work, I've loved books set in Afghanistan. So it says, Kais was 11 when a brutal civil war engulfed Kabul. For Kais, it brought an abrupt end to a childhood filled with kites and cousins in his grandfather's garden. One of the most convulsive decades in Afghan history had begun. Ahead lay the rise of the Taliban, and in 2001, the arrival of international forces. This book is the story of Kais, his family, and their determination to survive these upheavals, as they were buffered from one part of Afghanistan to the next. Drawing strength from each other and their culture and faith, they sought refuge for a time in the Buddha caves of Bamyan, and later with a caravan of Kutchi nomads. When they eventually returned to Kabul, it became clear that their trials were just beginning. I just think this sounds incredible. It gives me feelings of A Thousand Splendid Suns and The Kite Runner, which I loved those books so much. And I love things where it's like talks about cultures of countries that we know as kind of war-torn countries from the news, but tells you about their cultural history and what they were like before these wars break out. And so yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading that one. Right, the next character we have is Queen, a strong female character. I could have picked so many books for this, but again, I wanted to give a bit of a shout out to a book that I feel lots of people would love, and this is called Juliet Takes a Breath by Gabby Rivera. This is a queer YA book, and this is about Juliet, who is a Puerto Rican young woman who is gay, and she starts reading a book which is kind of like a feminist manifesto book, and she really loves it, and she writes to the author, and the author offers her a summer internship with her. And over this summer internship, discovers quite a lot about herself. She wants to come out to her family. She has a girlfriend. She doesn't know how her family's going to react. And she also is figuring stuff out. And she's having kind of, I guess, like a mentor relationship with this author. But everything's not always as it seems, I think, when you put someone on a pedestal as well. It's a really gorgeous coming-of-age story, and I just think that it's a beautiful book and funny, and Juliet is definitely strong and feisty, and I just really loved that book, so I wanted to give that one a shout out. And then the one that I haven't read yet is one actual, well, I say that I just started it yesterday because after I was thinking about what I wanted to put as this book, I then found that this book is currently free on Audible, but that's being taken away from the free catalogue in about 10 days time, so I wanted to read it. And it's called Mighty Be Our Powers, with the subtitle How Sisterhood, Prayer and Sex Changed a Nation at War, a memoir. And this is by Laima Gabawi and Carol Mithers. And I started it on audio yesterday, like I said, and it's set in Liberia, which is a country where I've never read anything, as far as I'm aware, that's set there. And it's about Laima, who is 17 when the book starts. She's just graduating high school. They're having a big family celebration. She wants to go to university. She wants to be a doctor. And then civil war breaks out in Liberia. It starts in the audio by saying about how everything often focuses on men, and it focuses on things that are done to women during the war. But this is very much about rallying women together. And it says that she was instrumental in galvanising hundreds, if not thousands, of women in Liberia in 2002 to force a peace in the region after 14 years of war. She began organising Christian and Muslim women to demonstrate together, founding Liberian Mass Action for Peace, launching protests and even a sex strike. So I think this is going to be a great book. Even the first, I've only listened to about 20-25 minutes, and it's fascinating just to learn about a little bit about how these tensions in Liberia came to pass. So I'm really glad to have this to spur me on to pick that book up. Then the final question is King, a book about a monarch or ruler. So the book that I've read already is a book which I absolutely adored. It was longlisted for the Booker Prize in 2020, and it didn't get shortlisted, which I was really sad about, because I thought it was an incredible book. And it's The Shadow King by Marza Mengiste. This is a book set in the 1930s in Ethiopia, during the rule of Haile Selassie, and it's when Ethiopia gets invaded by Mussolini, so the Italians come, and we're following Hirut, who is an orphan, and she's working as a servant girl to somebody who is in the as Haile Selassie's army. And we're also following an Italian photographer who's working there to document what's happening. And the women in Ethiopia start to form their own army because they want to be able to fight to protect Ethiopia from the Italians. And it's the story of the photographer, and it's the story of Hirut, and it's so powerful, and it's something I knew absolutely nothing about. I didn't know at all that Ethiopia was invaded by Mussolini. I didn't know anything particularly about Ethiopia's history, or I don't think I'd read any books that were set there. And again, I just love learning about other countries and cultures. And there are some scenes in this book, I won't lie, which are deeply upsetting. And there's one scene in the book which I don't think I'll ever forget as long as I live. So it's a book which will break your heart, but I just think it's so sad that it didn't get shortlisted or even win the Booker Prize, because I thought it was just phenomenal. And so again, I wanted to give that book a shout out. And then the book that I haven't read yet is The Siege of Loyalty House by Jessie Childs, who is a historian. And she's written this book about the British Civil War. So this is again a non-fiction book. It's about a building which was a stronghold of the Roundheads, which were the loyalists to King Charles I, and how when the English Civil War started, this was like a stronghold for them, and then it became a place where people were sort of they were trapped there, and then Oliver Cromwell's gang came and basically fought against the royalists, and it's all centered around this one building which was central to the conflict. So again, it's something that I don't know a huge amount about, and I'd like to learn more about, and I think when I listened to the sample of this book, it was very engaging. I really liked the way that it was done, and I think it's a period of history which like I said, I don't know too much about, and I'd like to learn more. So I think this tag has been really good for making me think about different books that I've read before that I'd like to talk about for other people to learn about, and also for me to go through my TBR and find books that I've kind of pushed to one side for a while for whatever reason, and that I'm excited to read. So thank you, Aaron, for making this tag. And I'm not going to tag anyone in particular, just because I think if people want to do a tag, then go ahead and do it. That's absolutely lovely. And hopefully that you've enjoyed this video, and I will speak to you all soon. Bye.